Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have a collection of crazy revenge stories for you. But before we begin, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story is, Ruin My College Life? I'll Ruin You. I'm doing my bachelor's degree abroad. I thought it'd be a good way to meet new people, learn how to be independent, etc. For the first month, it was all good. I made a bunch of new friends. We'll call one of them S. S was the kind of girl who had to be the center of attention no matter what, but she seemed rather all right other than that. We were part of a large social circle of around 15 people. S told me that she was going to my home country for a holiday and that if I needed anything from home, she'd bring stuff back for me. I gladly obliged. I paid her half of my savings to cover any expenses she might incur for transport, and off she went. My mom had arranged to send a carton of homemade food, etc., for her to eat and bring back. Instead, S ran off with my money and dumped the food. I was out of half the money I'd saved and nothing to show for it. When I called S out, she declared to the rest of our friends that we'd never had an arrangement and that I was delusional. To take things a step further, she started hanging out with everyone I was friends with and began spreading rumors about me. Every time I tried to switch social groups, S would follow my movements and alienate me from any friends I would have made. In essence, by the end of my first year in college, I had less than 3 friends left. These 3 were also fellow victims of S. Something else to mention is that S wasn't the brightest academically. She'd plagiarized her way through exams, assignments, etc. I spent the next 3 years collecting as much evidence of this as I could. Screenshots, voice recordings, statements from the few people who were talking to me, the works. S also comes from a rather conservative family. Unfortunately for her, she had the habit of picking up guys and spending the night with them in various hotel rooms. I decided to document this as well. The final cherry on this multi-tiered cake is that the country where I'm doing my degree in has a rule that you have to be below a certain age to get a bachelor's. If you're older than the cutoff, you cannot enroll for a new undergraduate degree in certain fields. We're now in our final semester of college, and S is now beyond this age. I sent my collection of evidence to everyone in the administration, every professor who's ever taught S, the dean of academics, and her parents. S was formally rusticated yesterday, and her parents have disowned her. Because of her age, she can't even get a degree in her field of interest anymore unless she leaves the country, which is now impossible for her as her parents want nothing to do with her. I waited for 3 long years, and it was worth every second. And our next story. Ignore me asking for my deposit? That's cool. You could just pay me triple then. A few years back, I rented a duplex. I lived in it. I moved out. Nothing special. During the move-out inspection, they did the standard landlord thing and looked for any excuse to deduct from the deposit. They knew from the lease agreement that we had pets, so of course the first thing the inspector says entering the house is, "I smell animals. We'll have to charge you the cost of getting a special pet odor removing cleaning service." We were right there to call him on his bullcrap with the invoice and paperwork from the cleaning service that already did a comprehensive clean, including a pet odor package. He quickly dropped that bullcrap. Then he found a carpet stain which, despite everyone's best efforts, never completely came out. Fair enough. We were relieved that they didn't take off too much for that at all. Then he took a little more off for having to patch some holes where we hung photos. In the end, we still owed at least 80 to 90% of our original deposit. They also told us we need to keep the utilities running in our name for a week after we move out so they can do some work on the place. This wasn't in our lease as something that's required of us, but I was nice and extended my utilities an extra week for them. Then they told us to extend the utilities another 2 weeks because they weren't done. Enough was enough, so I told them no. They gave us a statement of how much our deposit was, how much they deducted and for what, and how much was left over for us. By the books, until they didn't actually deliver it, I tried giving them the benefit of the doubt, but they had our mailing address for our next place and it never turned up. I called them, emailed them twice a week, asking if they've mailed it or if I can just pick it up from their office. No answer, no reply. They were completely ghosting us. We found out that the state law says that if your deposit minus deductions isn't paid within 30 days of vacating, You can take your landlord to court for up to 3 times the amount of the original deposit, no deductions. We read and studied this law well and concluded that there's no reason we shouldn't be able to fight this and win. No lawyer required. A $90 filing fee later, and our landlord was served notice of our intent. Then, whoa, what do you know? After all that ghosting for 45-ish days, the day after we filed our petition, we get an email from the landlord saying he sees that we're wanting to take legal action, but has a tremendous offer for us to settle out of court. The full deposit, no deductions, plus the $90 filing fee back. F their lowball offer. I replied reminding them that I can force them to pay 3 times the deposit, but I'll settle out of court for just twice the deposit. Did I need to settle? I don't know. The law says up to 3 times, so I guess I was worried that if it actually went to court, a judge might decide that the circumstances aren't bad enough to warrant that much more money for me, so it might not be worth the trouble. Twice was good enough for me, and making them lose money over it was what I was going for anyway. They agreed immediately and said I could pick up the check at their office. When I stopped by, what still confuses me to this day is that they still insisted on showing me the report of all the things wrong with the house that they said they had to deduct from the original deposit. Like I gave a F at that point. That ship had sailed. They were paying me twice the full deposit anyway. They could stick their petty, unfulfilled deductions up their rear. Closing thoughts. Do landlords do this often? Why would they just blatantly withhold your deposit without giving a reason? Do they think people won't fight for it back? Do the people who don't fight it outnumber the ones that do, meaning they can make a profit by withholding everyone's deposit by default? And our next story. You won't pay me? Okay, I'll double my work. Okay, so some backstory. I was 13 and lived in a really fancy neighborhood, and every year we have a best lawn competition. The prize for the winner is a $500 check. Some of my neighbors are really nice, but some are rich snobs. This is also sort of an entitled person story, so I'll be using abbreviations like EP. So I was managing my parents' flower garden, and I worked really hard for about 2 hours. And when I finished it, it looked really good. Entitled person was walking her dog and spotted me admiring my work. EP is generally an a-hole to everyone, so I wanted to avoid conversation, but she called out to me, and the conversation went like this. EP is entitled person, me is me. EP. Wow, did you do all this work? Me. Yeah, I was out working for the lawn competition. Oh, you did a great job. Do you think you can do my lawn? If you pay me by the hour, I'll be happy to work. Well, why do I have to pay? Because if I'm helping you compete against me, I want some profit out of it. Okay, fine. $10 an hour? So the next day, I do her very weedy lawn, and I think I did pretty good. I pick up every single one of her weeds, cut the grass, even bought some flowers for the patches of dirt where large weeds used to be. After 4 hours of work, I knock on EP's door to let her see the work, thinking she'd be impressed. I was very wrong. Ew, what's this? I was confused, but I wanted to see if I missed anything. What? The grass is the wrong color. The grass is green. What color is it supposed to be? Orangish. I want my lawn to have fall colors. Which I'm pretty sure is a made-up excuse. You didn't say that. Well, you should have known. Now get out of here because you ruined my lawn. I'm not paying you. Wait, what? EP walks into her house and slams the door. I go home and start to plan my revenge. Around the neighborhood, I hear EP bragging about her perfect lawn. About a week later, I stay up until midnight and go to a compost pile behind my house and gather up all the weeds I tossed from my own garden. I go to EP's house and spend another hour kicking up her flowers, adding bug bait, and replanting the weeds in her yard. That morning was the morning of the competition. By the morning, her garden had some bugs and looked like the house was abandoned. It was worth all the work to see EP's face in the morning. Imagine a toddler who just saw his favorite teddy bear get ripped to shreds. We didn't win the competition, but EP came in last and was humiliated. EP knew it was me and tried to get me in trouble, but I asked her if she had proof. I also told the whole neighborhood about the situation, so the other neighbors began to dislike her. EP never spoke to me again and eventually moved away. Maybe because of the humiliation. Trust me, rich people care about lawns very much. I would have just painted the lawn orange. And our last story. Kid tried to flip the motorcycle I'd sold him using my photos. I blew up his phone. 2 years ago, I sold a motorcycle on Craigslist. The guy who bought it was an early 20s guy who didn't bring any riding gear with him, said he'd left it at home and saw my ad while he was at work. I rode the bike down the street and back for him. He said it sounded fine. Long story short, I let him talk me down $100 because he seemed like a nice kid. I rode the bike to his sister's house for him and had my wife follow and pick me up. The next day, it's back on Craigslist for $500 more than I was asking, using my pictures. I'm a professional photographer. I've had my photos on magazine covers. I was okay with a craphead kid conning me and flipping the bike, but not using my pictures. So I sent him a text telling him to take the ad down and post his own damn pictures. He didn't. So I posted my own Craigslist ad that said something like, "Free chickens and goats. I'm old and tired and think it's time to quit. I've got 600 hens and enough roosters to keep them laying. Also 40 milk goats. I just want to make sure they go to a good home. First come, first served, se habla español." And I posted his phone number. I waited a day. Called from my home phone at 9:30 at night. "Hello?" He sounded tired. "Estoy llamando por las gallinas." "I'm calling about the chickens." "Ain't no effing chickens," he says. F, 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 F. No chickens, a-hole. I waited half a second, then said, "Tienes cabras?" "No effing goats," he yelled. Then he hung up. The next day, he texted me, told me he'd changed the pics, and could I please take down the ad for the chickens. I thanked him for taking down my photos and asked him what the hell he meant about the chickens. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.